Going freelance is not as easy as a lot of people seem to think it may be. And it doesn't matter the industry you're in, whether you're in television or whether you're digging holes in the road or whether you're climbing trees to cut them down. A business is a business, and you've got to get to the bare basics of running a business as a freelance camera person, whether you're working in the corporate world or whether you're working as we do in the news world. You've got to get your business basics correct, because if you don't get your business basics correct, you can find yourself in an awful lot of trouble, not only with the VAT and the tax man, but with corporate law. Yeah. As well. You are bound by the law of the country you're in, as to how you must run your business, and if you don't get it right, it can take you down.
Yeah. So do you think that's what puts a lot of people off, especially a lot of the younger people, graduates and so on, from wanting to follow that path?
Well, I speak to a lot of people out on the road, because I get like any cameraman hanging around outside court on a wet Monday morning. You get approached by young people, especially in places like Winchester or Bournemouth, where they have, and Portsmouth as well, where they have large student communities, a lot of whom are studying, doing media studies or whatever it is, that particular course that they're doing, or film studies or whatever. And I get approached all the time. A, how do you get into the industry, and B, what's it like working in the industry? And I always tell them, the first thing you've got to do is make sure that you set up your business correctly, because if you can't run a business, you won't get very far in the freelance world of television making. Yeah. Whether it's news, corporate, or drama, whatever. If you own your own kit and you want to make it, you've got to do your paperwork, and you've got to satisfy the tax man and the VAT man, and it's
takes the fun out of it.
It's one thing you just can't get away with it. Yeah. Like it's like the old saying: two things in life is death and taxes. Yeah. You've got to get your taxes right, and you've got to get your paperwork right, or you get yourself into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how much time do you have to spend dealing with paperwork and stuff, as opposed to being out filming?
I've got it down to a fine art, and it took me years to get to the point where I know what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, because when I'm working, obviously I'm generating income, which means you've got to generate invoices. When you're generating income and you're generating invoices, you are also generating receipts. So you're making money and you're spending money. Yeah. So you've got to keep your income and your outgoings in order. So for me, it takes me probably 5 minutes a day. But the thing is, that's 5 minutes every day that I work. Yeah. So pretty much the first thing that I do when I come home of an evening is sort out what I've spent. Yeah. And I write an invoice for the person that I've worked for, whether it be BBC, ITV, Sky, Channel 4, whoever has hired me that day. Because I found a long time ago that, I found out a long time ago that if you leave it too long, that paperwork and that invoicing and your income and your cash flow will soon get itself into a certain point where you might find yourself in trouble. So if you keep on top of it every day or 2 days, then you shouldn't find yourself in that sort of trouble. But it's something that has definitely got to be done.
Yeah. And have you got any sort of practical tips that have helped you over the years in terms of keeping on top of all that stuff for anyone listening?
Practical tips.
Or even just routines.
This always helps, and for those that are listening to this and not are on the video, I have a fine South African pinotage here, as does Christian.
I was about to say, as do I, and I'm sure mine cost about 10% of the cost of yours.
Practical tips: drink heavily and often. No, No, it's practical tips. Once you've got yourself sorted out as a freelancer, it's a case of whether you go down the limited company route or whether you go down the God, it's been so long since I was one. What's the other word for it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm rubbish at this stuff.
I've been a limited company now for so long. A sole trader, that's it.
Right, okay,
You're either a sole trader or you're a limited company. And I thoroughly recommended being a limited company because it completely separates your personal from your business life. And once you've got that sorted out with the correct people like HMRC and Companies House and various people like that, and once you've got into a rhythm of what is required once every year or once every quarter for the VAT man, for example, once you've got into a rhythm of getting that correct, then life is quite easy. But it takes a bit of understanding as to what is actually required legally to be in business as a television news cameraman. And I found that being a limited company myself was the best way to go. I was a sole trader for a number of years, but then I started spending a serious amount of money on various cameras and various things like that. And I thought, really, I should be claiming the VAT back and all the rest of it because it was a serious amount of money. So I went limited company, and that worked for me.
Oh, brilliant! And I mean, is that what you'd recommend? New people coming through setting up as freelance should pursue that option, or is that something they'd maybe look at further down the line? Do you think?
I think the main thing is to first and foremost get yourself established as a freelancer. That's the hardest part of your career, is actually getting known by the people who are going to hire you. Secondly, when they do hire you, there's no doubt about it, they prefer to deal with a limited company, right? Because they know that you are correct and regulated and you are doing the right thing. But that's not always the same as being a sole trader, because you can be a sole trader and do the right thing, but there's no doubt about it, dealing with limited companies is what people prefer.